Hello everyone, and welcome to my Nightmare Cup tournament breakdown. We have a lot of cool matches ahead, a surprise appearance from Snorlax, and a bonus match at the end, so stay tuned until the very end. First, we're going to take a look at some team comps. There were 25 participants in this month's tournament, which is very, very cool. There's a lot of interesting things here. Chimecho is making an appearance on some teams. We saw some Lucarios, Shiftry, Drapion, a lot of things you'd expect, but a lot of things you wouldn't. Blaziken, Breloom, Gallade, and Honchkrow. Even though the meta was very rigid this month, it was cool to see so many different things come out and actually compete. I always love the variety and love seeing trainers with unique Pokemon. So my first match is against Nimo. We take a look at his team comp, and although it'd be nice to see the future, like Xatu, we just go with what we think is best. So for this particular match, I'm going to lead with Shiftry, followed by Alolan Muck and Toxicroak. Right off the bat, not a great matchup for me. I'm going to try and put in as much damage with those Razor Leafs as I can. Trying to get to that Leaf Blade, but we don't quite make it. That's okay. Here comes Toxicroak. I know he's got a ton of energy saved, and that Mud Bomb would be devastating, so I'm definitely going to shield that. Now he switches, giving me swap advantage, so I'm going to come in with my Alolan Muck to answer his Hypno. I rolled the dice on this, but I was almost positive it was a Shadow Ball, and I was correct. We're going to soften up that Hypno with a little Acid Spray. And now we're going to go for the Dark Pulse if we can get there, and we do. He chooses not to shield the Dark Pulse. I'm waiting for his next Pokemon to come in, and it is Toxicroak. We're going to shield that Mud Bomb because we know it's super effective against Muck, and we're going to Poison Jab him down. Muck is barely standing, but we managed to get off another Acid Spray. We're going to hit that Raticate to try to soften it up. It was one of the bulkiest Dark types in the meta, if not the bulkiest. In comes Sludge Bomb. I probably could have gone Mud Bomb there because I knew he was going to block anyway, but did you see that? 2 counters, and his life is almost down. We end up winning that match. Very fortunate to win that one. Even though I started with a bad lead, I was able to pull that one out. Here we go with Alolan Muck, Xatu, and Poliwrath for round 2. Again, not a favorable opening matchup, but Alolan Muck's poison typing gives it a little bit of advantage against Toxicroak. Not advantage, more neutral, but I bring in Xatu. Xatu's going to use the Ominous Wind, and you know you pray for that buff every time, and we got it. We're going to shield this Ominous Wind because we want to protect our Xatu. He does not get the buff, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for us. I have another Ominous Wind charged, and here comes Hypno. Not going to shield that one. This is crazy. When you get to your Xatu with the buff, it's just incredible the amount of damage it can dole out. We almost take down 2 of his Pokemon just with our Xatu. In comes Alolan Muck. Pretty sure that was a Focus Blast, but it ended up being Shadow Ball. Either way, we're going to shield just to be safe. In comes Toxicroak, and you know that's a Mud Bomb, and that's going to hurt. Acid Spray, though, in return. My last Pokemon is Poliwrath. Sludge Bomb's going to sting real bad, but we're able to get to that Ice Punch just in time to win the match. Okay, our second match is against Antonier, or Professor Ant as he's called. So for this particular setup, we're going to lead Toxicroak, Hypno, and Poliwrath. In comes Alolan Raichu. Now, as we learned from the simulations, this is a toss-up. This could go either way. Both sides need to block, but we know that our Mud Bomb is going to be deadly, and we can't afford to let Alolan Raichu burn both of our shields if we can help it. He chooses not to shield the Mud Bomb, which is very surprising. His next Pokemon comes in. It is Hypno. I gotta bail as fast as possible. I don't really have a good answer to Hypno, so I bring in Poliwrath. Out of impulse and just nerves, he switches. That's what the Nightmare Cup did to you. I mean, your nerves were on edge and you were just ready to swap out because, you know, especially with the Confusion user versus your fighting types, it was deadly if you stayed in. I'm going to Dynamic Punch that Drapion down, and in comes Hypno again. Going to try to get off as much damage as possible with that Ice Punch. We get to one more Ice Punch, just swinging as we go down. However, here's where we started to run into problems. Massive lag on both sides. As you can see, I'm tapping like a crazy person, and I'm still not getting any hits in. He's doing the same. It's one Confusion in. I get a couple of counters. It's a little bit better for me, but we have to end that, and we're going to restart. So we decided to go with the same team comps per arena rules. Again, we see the Alolan Raichu Toxicroak matchup. Again, Thunder Punch. Here comes the Mud Bomb. Man, deja vu, right? Out comes Hypno. I'm going to try to go for that Mud Bomb because I knew that Toxicroak was essentially done and I wanted to preserve switch advantage if at all possible. I'm going to go ahead and shield the Shadow Ball. Try to get to one Shadow Ball of my own. He does have 2 shields, so this is not looking good for me at all. In comes another Shadow Ball. Let's see if we survive. And we do, just barely. Hypno is tanky, but not tanky enough. In comes Poliwrath. We're encountering some more lag. We decide to go ahead with the match. Here comes a Shadow Ball. And this match is essentially over. He brings in his Drapion to soak this energy of mine just to be safe. I go for the Dynamic Punch, but it's not enough. Oh, I actually do get it, but Drapion survives. We're able to Mud Shot down that Drapion, but Hypno is going to finish us with just 1 confusion. For the official round 2, I go Alolan Muck, Xatu, and Poliwrath. Speaking on Poliwrath's Dynamic Punch, you're probably wondering why I chose to go with that move. 1, obviously out of charge DMs because of regionals, but 2, because I thought it added an interesting wrinkle. Most players would expect the first Power Punch to be weak. However, Dynamic Punch I hope would be a surprise. Alolan Muck and Raichu. Raichu's going to take me down. That's okay. I don't really have a solid answer, so I come out with Poliwrath. I think I can Mud Shot him down, and we do. In comes Hypno. Gotta bail. Here comes Xatu. Zatu's going to resist that confusion a little bit. Gotta shield the Shadow Ball, though. Here comes an Ominous Wind. Fingers crossed for the boost every time, and we don't get it this time. That's all right. I go for another Ominous Wind. In hindsight, I probably could have done a Wing Attack, but I wanted to bait the shield regardless if I could. He crunches us, and we are down for the count. Out comes Poliwrath. Dynamic Punch is... It goes through. I thought it would be blocked. Here comes Hypno. We're going to hit it with an Ice Punch. At this point, you just got to fight for your life. And we lose. Hats off to Professor Ant. Well-fought match. Next match is against Salty Peppers. He's got a Mr. Mime, a Shiftry, Hitmonchan. Very cool team comp there. I decided to lead with a similar team. Alolan Muck, I believe Xatu, and Shiftry. Out comes Xatu. I'm going to Poison Jab at this Xatu as much as possible. As you can see, things are pretty neck and neck. I go straight for the Dark Pulse, though. He shields it. I'm going to shield whatever move this is. Ominous Wind. Probably could have gone without shielding that, but that's okay. Now he swaps into Hitmonchan. I'm going to soften it with this Acid Spray and bail. In comes Xatu. We know this is going to work out favorably. He only had enough for a Power-Up Punch, luckily. If it was a Thunder Punch or an Ice Punch, we would have been in trouble. In comes Shiftry, another not favorable match for Xatu because of that Aerial Ace. He decides not to block. Maybe he thought I only had 1 move. I'm going to shield this Ominous Wind from his Xatu. It's 3-1. I'm feeling pretty good at this point. We're going to Ominous Wind his Xatu for the win. Round 2. Shiftry's going to be my lead this time. Let's see if it pays off. He leads Hitmonchan. Not a good situation for me at all. I bail immediately, and I go into Xatu. I really like Xatu in this cup. It's probably the closest thing to a soft counter that you could come in with. Everything else is just, I mean, rock, paper, scissors. You know, there was one answer for it and one way it could be defeated. We take down his Hitmonchan. Out comes Raichu. Raichu's electric type attack is going to hurt, but we're going to get an Ominous Wind, hoping to affect that Psychic typing, and we do. Raichu's pretty weak. We know Shiftry is Raichu's enemy number 1. In comes Xatu. Not a great situation, but I'm going to try to chunk it down as much as I can because Razor Leaf hits hard. We're not going to shield this final attack. Shiftry did its job. Out comes Alolan Muck. Feeling pretty comfortable. We're up by a shield. We're going to defend whatever this is just to guarantee that win. And in comes the Dark Pulse, finishing off Xatu. And we have a surprise. Always fun to encounter Snorlax in the wild. Golden Raz, here comes the Ultra, and we're going to try to curveball that excellent throw. 1, 2. Okay, he didn't run. Attempt number 2 is critical catch. Successful. Always fun to catch a Snorlax. Back to the matches. All right, our next round is against Argent 57. There's a Skunk Tank there. Hitmonchan and Toxicroak are his fighting types, and a Claydol. We're going to lead with Alolan Muck, followed by Xatu and Shiftry. Ooh, very interesting opening matchup. These are two of the tankiest Pokemon in the entire meta. We're going to hit it with an Acid Spray, because whatever happens from here out, I want to make sure that my follow-up Pokemon will have a chance. I blocked that because I think it's going to be Flamethrower, but it ends up being Crunch. Very good shield bait on his part. We're going to go for the Dark Pulse now. He decides to block that, and I'm going to use my last shield here on Muck. A lot of Poison Jabs coming in. He gets off another charge move. It's Crunch, and we are able to survive. Here comes my own Dark Pulse, and we take Skunk Tank down. Toxicroak comes in, takes down our Muck pretty fast, but that's okay. We've got a Xatu. He switches out of Toxicroak into Claydol immediately. I know Claydol's got a Psychic typing, so I use that Ominous Wind, and I bring out Claydol's worst nightmare, pun intended, Shiftry. Gyro Ball's gonna hurt, but that Razor Leaf hurts worse. We're gonna Leaf Blade his Toxicroak just to put some more damage on it. A couple of Razor Leafs, in comes a Mud Bomb. We barely survive, but his Toxicroak outlives us, and Xatu finishes the job. For our next match, we're gonna do another similar team comp here, leading with Alolan Muck, Xatu, and Poliwrath. Out comes Toxicroak. Not super favorable. You know we have to watch out for those Mud Bombs. I'm gonna swap right into this Mud Bomb with Xatu and absorb that energy. I get a couple of shots in, and then Hypno comes out. Again, this isn't a terrible matchup for Xatu. With the Ominous Wind and hopefully the boost, it could turn out well. We're going to shield this Psyshock. I actually talked with Arjun after the match. He borrowed somebody's phone and didn't realize that this was his Hypno without Shadow Ball. And we talked it over for a few minutes. I said, we could replay it, we could switch, we could try to, make this right. And, he said it wasn't a big deal. Very, very nice guy. Very competitive, and we just decided that was the best route to go. Not sure what to do against Claydol. I don't really have a solid answer, so I bring in Muck. I know the Dark Pulse will hurt the Psychic typing, and we finish it off. Out comes Toxicroak again. We're going to hit it with that Grape Jelly right before we pass out. He's going to dump his energy, which maybe he should have kept. I don't know if it would have made a huge difference. And we mud shot down that Toxicroak for the win. Our next opponent is Francis. Francis has a very meta team, very cool. I noticed she only brought one fighter. She's very heavy on Dark. And this whole time I was contemplating running double fighter, but we're going to see what happens. I open Shiftry, not a good choice, go into Xatu. She answers with a Alolan Raticate. Alolan Raticate does one job, and it does one job very well, and that's beating Psychic types. He's going to crunch down my Xatu, and that is the end for me. In comes Poliwrath. I'm hoping I can get this Dynamic Punch and not draw a shield, but we do. Hyper Fang is going to do neutral damage, but that still hurts. I'm going to try to Mudshot up to one more Dynamic Punch, but she beats me to the charge. Crunch is going to hurt a little bit. I'm going to try to get my charge move off in return, and we finish the Alolan Raticate. In comes Xatu. We know the Ice Punch will hurt the Flying type, so we're going to try to get one off, and we do, taking a little over half of Xatu's health. We can't get to another one, unfortunately, and I'm out of options. I bring out Shiftry. I shielded that, anticipating an Aerial Ace, but it turned out to just be Ominous Wind, and her last Pokemon is Toxicroak. The Mud Bomb is going to be enough, almost enough, to finish us. She shields our Leaf Blade, and that is game. For my second match against Francis, I almost brought the second fighting type, but that's okay. I leave Toxicroak, Alolan Muck, Xatu. Tox versus Tox. Mirror matches. She uses a Mud Bomb. I return the favor. We both have drawn shields. I actually steal Charge Move priority away from her this time. We're still practicing with that and learning how to do it better, but this was a very good live test, and it worked perfectly. Now here comes my Mud Bomb ahead of hers. We're going to finish off her Toxicroak. We are both out of shields. She comes in with Xatu. I contemplate the mirror match, but I decide against it because whatever her last Pokemon is, we'll decide that. She brings in she brings in a Alolan Raticate. I panic, I switch to Muck, and it is all but over for me. Ominous Wind tickles Raticate a little bit. Out comes Alolan Muck. I think maybe I can use an Acid Spray. Maybe we can figure a way out of this, but she's got the match won. Very competitive player, a lot of fun. That's okay. So it was a 5-way tie. TD Fire had the most points. Professor Ant, Ryan, Vikamon, and Sparty. Here's our breakdown. We have one more bonus match for you. So this is Andy and Jay. This was an extremely competitive match and a lot of fun. Let's get into it. Toxicroak Blaziken. Let's see how this goes. We're just going to counter each other for a few minutes. He switches perfectly into the Claydol. Smooth switch by Andy, absorbing that Mud Bomb, getting the confusion damage in, but out comes Alolan Raticate to answer. Earth Power is going to hurt, but we know Alolan Raticate is bulky. It's going to take down that Claydol. In comes Blaziken again. He's going to shield this Blaze Kick. Counters are going to hurt, but he manages to fire off a Crunch. All right, out comes Toxicroak and Blaziken falls. Nope, it's a switch. Another smooth switch by Andy. Man, he shields the Mud Bomb, protects his Alolan Raichu, but in comes Spiritomb. Wild Charge, no effect because of the shield. Here comes an Ominous Wind, fingers crossed for the boost, and Spiritomb gets it. Out comes the barely living Blaziken with a Blast Burn, and that stat boost saves the Spiritomb in the match. And this is a real GIF. I guess Spiritomb just flies away like that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Had a lot of fun at the Nightmare Cup. Definitely a great tournament. Can't wait for Rainbow Cup. You can see the link to the Tampa Bay Discord down in the description. Please join it if you live in Tampa and you want to play Pokemon Go. My #1 goal is to build the Pokemon Go PvP community in Tampa. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'll see you guys next time.